Hey, New Life. We're so glad that you're investing the time to listen to this. Our heart as we walk through this video is to be able to offer thanks to you, to cast vision toward where what we see God doing. And we want to look forward toward that together. We're going to talk about 3 elders who are up for election. Actually, 1 for the first time, 2 are up for re-election. And then we're going to close talking about our budget for 2023. So that's kind of where we're headed. I'm Pastor John. This is Pastor Greg. And thanks so much for investing this time with us.
So on gratitude, it's amazing. So we've gone through this COVID season, and during it, as a church, I really believe we got healthier. The dynamics of encouragement within the body are healthier. I get there are many people who have not been able to attend for different reasons, health-wise, but as a whole, there has been a blessing over a family who has suffered at some level and pushed through and worked through and encouraged. I'm really encouraged to look out at the health of our body, the health of our staff, the health of our elders. Yeah. And it's never about this, but it's a reality. Our finances, we're right on budget, which for this time of year, we're always like $40,000 under or something this time of year. And so to be right at budget, there are innumerous blessings to be thankful for. And that's good. One thing I will say, looking out at the next year, you want to jump in on gratitude?
Gratitude, yeah. So I'm grateful for you, and what a gift it is to be part of God's family together. You have encouraged us in so many ways. I'm so encouraged by the spirit and the heart of just a longing to see neighbors and family members come to Christ. We've seen so many of you inviting friends, inviting family members, inviting coworkers and neighbors, and that's so encouraging. So I think that there's just this invitational culture that's growing at New Life that I celebrate. I would also celebrate, we have been part of 4 church plants.
Yes!
And so that's just incredible. Right now,
2 real close.
Yes, in fact, yeah. So two kind of just launched this year with actually really significant financial gifts toward those. You might not know, we are giving to one of those church plants $10,000 over 3 years. The other one, that's Dave Collins at Ambassadors Church, which is up in Rancho Vistoso. The other church, Lamar Lovett, we're giving $30,000 over 3 years. So huge financial investments of leadership, investments of a relationship. It is just incredible to see what God is doing, and we rejoice in that.
It's awesome. That is a huge mark of thanksgiving. And I will say, prayer towards the future. So we're on this, we're on this exciting kind of, peak where COVID seems to be behind us, and finally looking out to the future. I really get excited about how can we impact Tucson? What does that look like to see leadership multiplied, to see the church multiplied? So one of my biggest prayers is towards planting and still the possibility of a campus. And I would love to see the partnerships continue. They're fantastic. I would also love to see someone within the body of New Life, for the Holy Spirit to stir that possibility, to see us launch somebody that is homegrown, so to speak. That's really one of my prayers over this next year, is that would show itself.
That's incredible. Yeah, I double down on that. Yeah. I mean, may that be so. I also would just say, one of the things that and we're going to get into this just even a little bit here. One of the things that I think that God has been doing at New Life, one of our values is that we are contributors, not consumers. And I want to see God continue to mobilize us, that our reputation would be that we are we're on the front lines. If you need help, if you want to go to a place that loves people, that is for this neighborhood, for Tucson, New Life is that place. And to see even just this year, our school partnership doubled, right? So we added DeGrazia to our existing school partnership.
Which is doubly cool because that is a part of our heritage. We were there for 4 years.
Yes. So Quail Run, DeGrazia, like how awesome is it that we have the 2 elementary schools closest to us with meaningful impact, meaningfully getting loved on by New Life. Like my hope is just that seeps into kids, into families, and we become an outpost of the light of Jesus Christ, to be salt and light in this neighborhood and in Tucson.
So a couple of things that we're going to be voting on. One is some constitutional change. I'm carrying the constitutional change in my hand. Is really revolving around even that consumer contributor dynamic. We're proposing to shift the language of our church membership. So we will call church membership partners. Why would we do that? We believe, first off, that membership has lost some of its meaning in contemporary culture. I joked with the congregation, I'm a member at Costco, but that means nothing. Like they have no commitment to me, I have no commitment to them. In fact, it's very much a consumer thing. Partner implies 2 things. It implies a commitment, a partnership, a belonging within the body, and partnership in a mission that God calls us to. So partnership in the gospel to reach the city of Tucson and to the ends of the earth. And so we really believe that calling membership partnership, shifting our language, will raise the significance of what it is to be a part of the body of Christ. The other part of that is, so one, shifting the language to partnership. The other is to shift to an annual renewal. So while we would vote on that this November, anyone who's a member automatically then is a partner. It's just a change of the vocabulary. But beginning next year, as we vote at the end of 2023, we would start to have an annual renewal. And what that is every year as we come up around our vote, we will have the means for every partner of the church to reaffirm their commitment as a partner of New Life. And what that does is give us the break every year to raise the circumstances of what partnership is and to clarify the commitment. That gives people the ability, if they've drifted, they're not going to check that box. And if they don't check that box, they'll get a call to say, hey, we just noticed you didn't. It gives us a chance to follow up. But then for others, it gives them the opportunity to examine where their life is at and recommit, to say, yeah, I am ready to recommit and affirm my commitment for another year.
Yeah, I'm affirming that I am in community here.
Yeah.
I'm serving here. I'm giving here. I'm committed to what God is doing in and through New Life. And that's such a gift to be able to press pause. The other kind of fun thing that's a part of this is that we're changing the voting age as well. You want to share a little bit about that?
Well, it came up, I don't know, it didn't come up by accident. So we put our proposals out about 2 weeks ago on a Sunday, and someone from the body came back and noticed the language of our current membership for voting said that you have to be 18 years of age. And it didn't say you have to be at least 18, it said you had to be 18, which means no one who's any other age but 18 can vote in a very strict sense. And so we had to go in and clean that up. It's just a small edit in our Constitution. And so what we began doing was saying at least 18 years of age. But as the elders prayed about that, processed that, we thought, we want to be more inclusive of younger people. There are younger people serving in our body, rising up in leadership in our body. And while we walked through a lot of ages, we landed on 15. So that you can actually join the church as a partner prior to that, but you wouldn't be allowed to vote. voting would require that you be at least 15 years of age. And we're excited about that because it expands the significance of what God is doing in younger people in this body. Tie that in even with the gap that exists.
Yeah.
in the church.
So I mean, if you look at people who are engaged in the church, what you find is, demographically speaking, there's this drop off at 18 until late 20s, where people tend to disengage from the church. And when you look and you say, well, what about those people who stay engaged? What makes them stay engaged? And it's quite simply this: they feel engaged and a part of the church, meaning not just student ministry, as important and vital as that is, but they feel connected to the church. And so that's part of our heart, is to say, hey, how can we be those who take seriously young people and say, listen, you're not junior members, you're not on the sidelines, you are part of God's family. You can be a contributor, and you don't have to wait for that. So we want to take that seriously as elders, and so that's part of this proposal as well.
We speak that over our students now. They're not the future leaders.
Yeah.
They're leaders. And so that's a small thing in the proposal that you'll see. It's just one line in there, but you'll notice the minimum age for voting. Another thing we're voting on is elders. And so there are 3 elders. I've got that too. There's a little sheet with their testimonies on it. There's 3 elders we'll be voting on. One, a new elder, Lynn Gore. You can introduce him and explain. The other 2 elders were affirming, but we will affirm for 2 years, not 3. And here's a little confession. We were supposed to vote on them last year, and we forgot. And we
Sorry.
please forgive. We just became aware of this like a month ago. If we had become aware of this in February, we would have had a special vote to affirm them as elders. We just became aware of it, and because it was so close to the vote, we thought we'll vote on them now. We'll share openly that we missed it last year. We have implemented some tools so we don't do that again. So Caesar Alstante and Mike Schaefer will be reaffirming for 2 more years because they kind of snuck in an extra year this last year.
The way elder terms at New Life work is that you have a 3-year term, and if you want to continue, you can be voted on again for another 3-year term. Then you take a sabbatical year, and then if you want to come, if the elder team and you want to come back on, then you can be voted on again. So Lynn will be serving a 3-year term, a typical 3-year term. Mike and Caesar, to honor the spirit of our terms, will be serving just a 2-year term, and that's what they're up for vote on.
Yep. That's
So
good.
following this, we're gonna break here. You'll get to meet Lynn Gore, who's our new candidate. He'll share a little bit about his heart, about his ministry at New Life, and I think you'll love hearing Lynn, his story, his love for his grandkids, and also his love for the kids here at New Life. Anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so. Did I tell you about my grandchildren?
Tell us about your grandkids.
So my grandson, he's 3 years old. He's adorable. I have a granddaughter who's going to be about 11 months old, and they're just the most beautiful things in the whole wide world. I'm a native Arizonan. I've been married to Emma for 36 years, 3 grown kids, 2 grandchildren that are very beautiful, and we've been coming to New Life Bible Fellowship for about 6 years. My main area of service is in the children's ministry. I volunteered to fill in for a while early on and realized that really captured my heart, and I could really make a difference in those kids' lives, and so I just continue to do it every week if I'm able. I teach first, second, and third graders in the second hour.
How did God bring you to yourself?
It was a long process of pulling and then me pushing away, and eventually in college we had a friend of ours who invited us to church, and he didn't have a car, so he actually was needing a ride to church. So we started going to church with him, And we were really struck by the message and the power of God. And both Emma and I accepted Christ on the same day in college. And once we realized that there's nothing that we could do to earn our salvation or somehow get into the right position with God, that we had to just rely on the sacrifice that Christ had made for us. It was like, yeah, this is kind of a no-brainer. The care that's been shown to us has been amazing. We've been focusing on getting in and staying in the Word and prayer. I've been able to see God do amazing things in my business, in our family life, and it's just been a huge blessing. You just look around at the things that are going on just in the next few months with the trunk or treat and the upcoming trip to India. That's an exciting thing where our church can really step out and make an impact. There's a place for everybody to serve at New Life, whether it's children's ministry or not so perfect, all those different things, senior ministry. There's a whole lot of things that people can be involved in. I'd like to encourage everybody to do that. So, yeah, it's great. So, anything else you need?
Fantastic.
Did you guys get everything you needed?
Got it.
Okay.
So the last piece here that we want to share is the 2023 budget. And we will have copies of those available on Sundays. You can also find those. Those will be sent via email. You can take a look at that budget as well. What you'll see in that budget is there's a 6.5% increase. Now that's us trying to, as elders, really reconcile the fact that we live in a period of high inflation. And so we're trying to be good stewards while also kind of navigate that season. The most significant increase in that is in our long-term maintenance fund. That's actually almost tripling this year. And the reason for that is we have a building that's about 12 years old, and things are starting to break. Things are starting to wear out. Our first AC unit went down this year. And so the elders are really wanting to get ahead of that to make sure that we don't put the church in a problematic area. And so you have that. You have minimum wage increases going on in Arizona that we're having to account for. Even just in terms of that inflation, the elders are wanting to really make sure that we do the best we can to take care of staff. And there's a couple other areas that we're addressing as well. There's just the increased cost of goods as well that are impacting us across the board. So a 6.5% increase that you'll see. We also, and in there is our part-time executive pastor, Paul Mueller, who's doing a phenomenal job. And so we have that additional piece as well in there. So if you have any questions on that, whether you're talking elders, whether you're talking the question about the Constitution, whether you're talking about budget, we'd love to answer those questions. There's a number of ways that you can do that. One of those is going to be a Q&A time. Another way is just you can email Greg or myself. You're welcome to do so. John B. at newlifetucson.com or Greg L. at newlifetucson.com. But know that we want to hear from you. We want to engage any questions that you have. I say this like a little bit in jest, but kind of in love. Like, we totally understand the dynamics of these types of votes, and we understand, and our heart is for as much unity as possible. But and so there's not an expectation that everybody's always going to agree on everything. But we would love to hear. We genuinely want to hear. It's harder to have those votes that are no, that you're like, oh, well, we didn't really see that coming. So hear that genuinely. We want to have those conversations. We want to navigate the wisdom that you have to offer as we consider what God is doing here at New Life.
I will add on the budget. You mentioned inflation. So inflation is 8.5%. So even though 6.5% is a larger increase than we're used to in the last few years, we actually think that is as conservative as we can be, keeping pace with just the expenses that are a reality around us. So it's a 6.5. We're trying to be as wise stewards in a conservative way as possible, and yet you have to pay bills. And so that is the budget piece. So again, we're voting on three things: voting on the Constitution, voting on the elders. Lynn is a new elder, and then 2 votes reaffirming both Caesar and Mike, and then the budget vote. And so though that vote is all coming up on November 20th. On November 13th, we're having a Q&A.
November 6th.
November 6th is the Q&A. So right after the second
November
service.
13th is the chili cook-off, which will be
That's
fun
it,
for
yeah.
India.
All these dates. November 6th, a Q&A time. So essentially at 12:15 after the second service ends, we field questions by email and contacting us because of the significance of a constitutional change and 3 elders and a budget that has a little higher percentage. We just thought it would be wise to offer an in-person time for Q&A. And so 12:15 after the second service on November 6th, we'll have that time available. Of course, if you can't make that time or want to get together another, please contact us. Contact any elder. We would be glad to meet with you and answer any questions. In the midst of all of that, from the elders, from the budget, from the Constitution change to everything God is doing, I'll speak on behalf of the elders. We're excited about what God is doing and look forward to serving with you as the body of Christ here in Tucson over this next year.